Hi, my name is Knox. I've been a resident of Kingston most of my life. I've been a resident of Kingston most of my life. I'm a 54-year-old woman with 4 kids and 10 grandkids. There's nothing that I love more than spending time with my family, especially Sunday dinners. I lived in Roundup Gardens as a renter for 9 years until my dad passed away. After he died, I went to South Carolina to clean out his house. I had to surrender my apartment in order to handle my dad's estate. Since I couldn't return home, I ended up staying down south for a year. When I came back home in Kingston, a friend let me stay on her couch, even though she was risking losing her apartment and her Section 8 assistance by having me there. What we call taking care of people that we know. The county calls welfare for. My friend could have gotten criminal charges behind being kind enough to put me out. That doesn't shout out community to me. I was looking for places, and another friend who was using Section 8 with no luck. Most places were unaffordable if we lived together, and some places wouldn't even rent to us because we weren't paying cash. We were excluded based on my friend using Section 8. I started looking by myself, but I couldn't find anything I could afford, either with $771 in Social Security. So I went to DSS for assistance. They placed me all the way out in the hotel with a house for $15 in food stamps. I had no car, no family, and no bus to barely get out there. And I couldn't make it to Sunday dinners in Kingston. I was all alone except for the lions, the tigers, and the bears. I was out there at the end of the lot with mice, snakes, and skunks. With nowhere to go, I scrubbed the hotel room down as best I could. I took bus rides and walked the lot to fill out housing searches. And after 2 weeks, I was moved to Motel 19 in Kingston. Every 2 weeks, I had to go to DSS and show them I was looking for a place to live. I had to show receipts for everything I spent money on. Nothing was mine. God forbid I bought a candy bar for my grandkids, but took a care and didn't get no receipts. I had to explain all of this to DSS workers. They treated me like I was less than dirt in the bottom of their shoes. Like I didn't deserve a place to live. You would think they were paying out their pockets. Well, going on the other guidelines say that you shouldn't spend more than 30% of income on your rent. Yet DSS had me paying half of my Social Security income to these hotels. To add insult to injury, the owners of the hotel were disrespectful. Those of us who were on DSS assistance. During this time period, there was no stability. Every time I went to DSS, they threatened to move me into boarding house. As a recovering addict, I knew being in boarding homes and being around all that drug use was not good for me. When you live in a boarding home, you don't get food stamps. Instead, every bit of food is rationed to the residents. I had diabetes and high blood pressure. I couldn't go there. The lack of affordable housing in Kingston has not just impacted my ability to call someplace home, it has impacted my health as well. With only a microwave to cook in, my blood pressure has risen tremendously. Do you know how much salt there is in microwave meals? With all the walking I've been doing, I could no longer put off knee replacement surgery. I had to get my blood pressure down in order to complete the surgery. So I started going to friends' houses to cook food. Finally, in October 2018, I had my replacement surgery. Can't hear myself. Did the mic go?
I don't think it's working. It's on. It's not working.
No, it's
DSS from requiring me to come back every 2 weeks to do hours of parking searching. During the same time while I was removed, recovering from surgery, the sewage started backing up in my bathtub. I could not lay my head down to rest without being awoken from the stench of sewage again and again. This happened and yet I kept paying, I had to. I had begun the process of applying for SPO. Being homeless and disabled put me at the top of the list. So I waited, but I had to keep paying at the hotel in order to not lose my spot on SPO. I would have lost my spot if I slept on a friend's couch. Just a few weeks ago, I received a call from SPO that they had a place for me on Elmwood Street. For the first time over here, I'll have a home. With 2 roommates, but a home nonetheless. Next, Next, I hope to apply for RUBCO waiting list. I hope to find my own place where my 4 kids and 10 kids, the rest of my family can come visit me and get the Sunday dinner and enjoy a home cooked meal. One situation can change everything, and if we don't have the support in place to help each other out, we will never be a strong community. Thank you.
Thank you. Question? You got a question?
I do. So it sounds like it was a very difficult time in the last few years. Was there a time further back here in Kingston when you had a good situation, one that you would like to return to? Is there a moment, a landlord that you had or a housing situation that you look back to saying that's what it should be?
Housing.
Yeah.
Housing got that far.
Mm-hmm.
I was happy there and no complaints.
So, and how did they figure out your rent at Rondout Gardens? Because it sounds like it was different from DSS, when your DSS was here.
What do you mean? I don't understand.
Well, at Rondout Gardens, you were just paying monthly rent, or
Yes.
were you also getting assistance through like DSS?
No.
Okay.
I was just paying my rent through my social security.
And then at Rondout Gardens, was there a sliding scale according to your income?
Yeah, to your income.
And so you have to report to them at least what your income is and show that income.
Yeah.
But it's not, how does that compare with how DSS was requiring you to show all the receipts?
Well, it was different because I had to have receipts for everything. There wasn't make no mistake about it, you had to have all the receipts.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't have to have receipts with social security for Rondout Gardens.
So how was the feeling, how different from being at Rondout Gardens when you only had the once a year to show what you had to pay, as opposed to the DSS constant asking what you'd spend?
It's not me. Skip me, sorry.
Well, I'm trying to get at, you clearly were feeling a lot of powerful feelings when you were working with DSS and trying to find a place to live, right?
Yeah.
But you're saying Rondout Gardens was a much better experience.
Yes, I lived in Rondout Gardens and didn't have to go through all the stuff that DSS puts you through now.
Mm-hmm.
Being homeless, DSS puts you through a lot of stuff that they wouldn't if you hadn't part.
Do you have any idea why DSS does all that?
No.
So when you were at Rondout Gardens, you had also more like a refrigerator, stove, all those kind of basic necessities?
Yes, and the kitchen, cooking, and I can have company, visitors, and sometimes if my grandkids want to spend the night, they can spend the night.
And those things were furnished in the place you had Rondout Gardens, or did you have to furnish your own?
No, it's very city place.
And so in the housing that you got through DSS, you only had a microwave?
Yes,
And
it's a hotel.
so there wasn't even a place to put in like a stove or a refrigerator?
No.
And then how close were you to a grocery store when you were in that housing at DSS?
housing that you have now is through DSS or
No, it's through SPOA. SPOA?
SPOA?
I don't know what that stands for.
What is SPOA?
Single point of access.
Sorry?
Single point of access. Single point of access.
And that's a county one?
Through mental health.
Okay. Like you were moving stuff.
Yes. Yes. But I can cook my food.
Yeah, like in a hotel, I'm sure.
Yes.
Thanks for the story.
Yes, thank you very much. I really definitely appreciate it. Thank you. Okay. All right then. So next, I'd like to ask Anita Velasquez-Amador to speak. Now, Anita's speaking because she had two people, or three people even, who were going to come from the tenants union. However, will tell us that they're facing issues with precisely the kind of things that a lot of tenants in Kingston face. Thank you, Anita.
Good evening, everyone. I'm here. Tiffany Cummington was supposed to be here today. She just went in and moved into an apartment that was rented here in Kingston, in the city of Kingston. Supposedly, your inspectors all went in and said everything in the apartment was up to code. She went to turn on the stove to cook for her baby, and a fire broke out. I almost lost the granddaughter that calls me Mima in this town. She may not be mine, but she's mine because she calls me Mima. I got pictures of her apartment, and this is what you said was up to code. Almost lost a family because of it. Second, I had two people that were supposed to come. They were a couple, same sex. They've been trying to rent in Kingston and have been turned away due to the fact they are the same sex couple and they're married. Also, looking through here in Kingston, I personally can say this. I have checked out almost every single home that has been for rent here in Kingston. Every time you go to these places, they're asking $50 per adult in every family. In my family, that would cost me $200 per application. And then they do a credit check on you. So now you're paying $200 and they don't even call you back. I have one landlord that has his apartment for rental the last 243 days. And people have been coming there. He's already making his rent by just collecting those $50. That needs to stop. Okay, because that putting someone, oh, give me your $50, but yet the landlord is not even going to rent to anybody and collecting that fee is unfair. Or, look at this one. On Wilbur Street, discrimination is what I call it. No social services, no Section 8, no type of assistance whatsoever will they rent to anyone. And that is what we have here. Our local assistance is RUBCA, Section 8, DSS. That's what has this holds your community together. Because these are the ones that work, again, like I say, at your stewards. This is the people that will hand you your coffee when you go and get your breakfast. These are the people that clean this city hall, your janitors. That's the people that is being discriminated against this. And if Kingston or the town of Ulster think that this is fine, then I guess you're going with discrimination on my part. That's what I feel. Discrimination, displacement, gentrification. I can tell you because I've been there. I can show you a film. It's a movie that was made. Okay, it has little aliens in it. But if you see the neighborhood that I'm trying to show you, just look at the scenery. It's my home. That was my neighborhood. That was the neighborhood that I saw when the developer came in and said, hey, we're gonna fix up. And it's gonna be for you people. No. The moment that big building went up, all our buildings went down. We got burned out, pushed out. Families leaving, people leaving. We left our homes, we left our schools, we left our families. Do you know this is the first year I've never celebrated my grandson's birthday? Because he can no longer afford to live in New York City. My son had to leave New York State because it's not only here in Kingston, it is all over. But there are towns that are trying to work this out, like Oregon. Look at New Paltz. They passed the security laws, a little something for most of the, because they have students that come in and out most of it. So security was a big part of what they needed. Being away from my kids was the hardest thing I ever done. I can tell you where my kids are at. And my eldest is 38 years old, and I'm not talking about me, but we're close. But to have my family moving out, it's hard. If you get a chance, look at the movie. Batteries not included. I'm telling you, what's in that story was actually true. I lived it. I was the young girl that saw a tenant getting thrown out of their apartment. I was there when my neighbors were getting burned out. I was burned out. I was the little girl that was stuck in a room while her dad was trying to get her. And they couldn't get to the room in time. Okay, they're not doing that right now. They're not burning down, but hey, let's take a look. Poughkeepsie just got a building burned down. We have a company that is here, not in Ulster County, and Kingston, and in Port Ewing, that is doing the same thing. I'm living with feces in my bathroom. I can show you the pictures. We have people who are living with no heat for 2 weeks on the most coldest week of the year because they refuse to overnight a motherboard from Canada. The baby's in the hospital for one of these mothers right now who's about to give birth. What is going to happen? Society puts it there, pushes you to the point where you can't fix anything, and they want to blame you for not taking care of your children. Because if this woman goes and gives birth, they're not going to let her take that baby home. And if you try to tell me yes, I will tell you no. And I will bring you the statistics for it. I did court appointed special advocate for child abuse for children. We would not let a baby go home in an apartment that has no heat. So guess what? Now that mother has CPS on her butt. And this is what we call society is allowing it to happen. This has been going on for years. This is not something new. The players are just ridiculous. All I know is, do we want Ulster County to be known as the next county that allows landlords to come in to our county, violate your constituents, your residents, your neighbors, your friends' kids? Because I bet you not all your friends' kids all have money. Okay? I don't think so. I don't really think Kingston wants that. All I'm saying is we need to put some regulations in place that if they want to come in, I even have a text here that was sent to one of us from the Kingston Tenant Union, because we were talking about gentrification, displacement. And this person stated that he is going to buy every piece of property that he can in Kingston and refuses to sell it, to rent it to anyone that is on public assistance section 8. And if you all don't like it, he doesn't care. He wants only people who are going to pay his rent that he asks for. Because he says he owns the building and he will do as he pleases. Is that what Kingston wants to be? That's what I asked. Is that what Kingston wants to be known as? Because if that's what you all want to be known as, believe me, I'll put that in the paper for you. I'll be the first one to call the news press and let them know that this is what Kingston wants to be. But if Kingston wants to be somewhere where it works for everyone, I'm for you. I'll be there and I'll help and I'll do what I can. I have given you proposals. I have things written up that I'm putting together about how to do the code enforcement. Because, do you know that feces that's smelling up in my house right now? Do you want to know that the health department told me that is not a health hazard? I really wanted to bring today what's inside my bathtub to use. But I wouldn't subject you to that smell. But this is what your health department said is not an issue.
That's the county.
Yes,
County Kingston.
yeah. For William Beaver, that's the one?
And your apartment is your specific apartment is in the county.
Right, but you have the same landlord doing that to someone in your city of Kingston. Remember, they have properties here too. So if you think that it's not gonna get as bad as what I warned the town of Ulster to do, what I warned them about these landlords, they did not believe me, and it's gotten worse over the year. And if you think that's not gonna happen to his next property, think again, he's already done it to 3 of them. Something has to be put in place, that if they're going to rent and they're going to buy, things need to be upheld a little bit more tighter. You need to end up by at least, if you violate them, he has more than 50 violations. 50, more than 50 in this, my complex. That's not including every other complex he's in. And that's not just here. I even showed the statistics to Ulster County. He has 126 properties, and each property has over 70 to 100 violations in each and every one of their properties. There has to be something put in place to stop these kind of landlords to come in here. Or is it okay for them to allow your residents, your community, to live in that? Is that what you all saying to me? That it's okay? I don't think it's okay that same-sex genders cannot find an apartment. I don't think it's okay that someone, your inspector from the city, went into an apartment, said it's 100% okay, and they expressed concern about that stove. Oh no, it's fine. And they almost burned up because the inspections are not really done correctly. You do not have strong enough regulations to inspect those apartments. And if so, have these inspectors know the owners so they don't do nothing about it. Okay, they said we'll call them, but they don't follow up. And then you have to call them, hey, it's not done yet. That's not our job. That is their job. That is what they get paid for. They need to get up, go and get the complaint, take the pictures, write it up, make a caseload, follow up afterwards, make sure it's done correctly, and close the case out. And if the landlords do not do, then either violate them, fine them, or do something else, or do not give them a certificate of occupancy in the first place. Look, I know you hear me all ranting and raving a lot, but I do have some solutions that we can probably all work together. Like I said, I'm trying to put that together with us, the Kingston Tenant Union, and the people that are there. But we can put something in place. I understand we need to thrive, but at the same time, to not forget the people that actually serve you. That's all I'm asking. Because you're about to lose a community that you think that's not gonna be here anymore. And I can tell you, it's already going. Because half the people are already gone. Condemning buildings, 3. You're in how many families? How many families are no longer in Kingston now? 3 buildings down? In one complex.
Thank you, Lily. So you've shared with me a couple of the laws that you looked at, the one in New Paltz, for example. Are there other ones that you've been
statewide in Oregon, that helps some of the tenants, it gives them a little breathing room. In the city, there was a program, Steve Dockley knows exactly the name of the program, but I can tell you about it. It's like, it's wintertime, where we have the snow. The sanitation would do the streets, and what they would do is they would hire people who are disabled that can work, and for people who are in the Department of Social Services. And they would get the minimum wage at the time, and they would go around and start doing the sidewalks and all of your hydrants. That's what we used to do, and they were able to keep that money without penalty with their assistance. And it's a still program that is still going on in the city, because that helps them a breathing room. Because even if you have a snow day, one out of the summer, that's a little paycheck for them, that maybe they can pay a bill, or maybe catch up on their rent. There are programs that we can bring in here, and that's what I'm in the process of trying to put together, and with my people, because they are the ones that are actually my strength. They're the ones that give me this strength to stand in front of all of y'all. If you want to know more programs, I can get them for you. I'm getting all the names, you're putting it into place. I mean, this is what can help Kingston. I mean, like okay, I saw that they're planning to fix up on the school. What pissed me off, I like the idea what you're planning to do, but why are you getting outside help to do it? What? Contracts. They're doing something in the school with some contracting. It's in the, they had it up on their post.
The school system is separate from us, we gotta go.
Okay, I just want to explain something. It's something like that, okay? You see how you're bringing out outside contractors. We have so many mom and pop contractors. Why can't we use who we have in town? Give them a boost. That helps. If you help them, it helps their employees. It's a chain reaction. What we need to start doing is look locally. Look at what we can use, what we have locally. Because I bet you there are people who are on disability right now or on DSS right now who can actually use a job and have the skills. But yet nobody wants to give it to them because they don't think that they are human enough. Or if you have a record, people really look at you and really swear. Okay? But if you look at what the society has done, society has kept the people where they have given the tax base to the filthy rich and have suffocated the working class. There used to be a middle class, there ain't none. It's either you're poor or rich. And that's the reality of it. I thank you for listening to me.
Anybody have a question?
Thank you.
It's on. It's on. It's on. Yes.
Yeah.
You seem to be saying that, you said a lot, but a couple threads I heard was that the city, it's doing it, and I'm paraphrasing what you said, these are not my words, but I think that you're saying that the city is doing a terrible, lousy job on coming in to rental units and dealing with major problems, whether it's a fire in the stove or feces.
Yes. Yes, because I can tell you right now, a lot of families, you're in buildings, I'm sorry, but to say it is true, because I have called buildings myself, and their response is,
Who do you call?
okay, if it's in Kingston, Jill, Narragansett Drive, okay? Then I remember calling her, I lived on Elmendorf Street, okay? And I called her about a violation. Do you know to this day that violation is still there? And if anything should happen to the person in that building, it's been on record for the last 3 years and nothing has been done. I can pass there right now and you can see the violation. And I reported that. I got evicted for reporting that.
You got evicted?
Yes, from Elmendorf Street, because I complained. And because there is no such tenant protection here, The landlord can go to court, say he no longer wants to rent to you at all for whatever reason, and you will be evicted here in Kingston. There is no just cause evictions here. And then you don't get your security deposit back either. So try that in the street, and you don't even get your money that you gave him.
The other thing I heard you say, there are many people within the city who could address these problems, but will not be hired for whatever reason. Contractors or people who have the skills, but somehow,
Yes. There's some, I know.
again, that seems to be a city problem.
That's a city.
So your big problem is with the city, not, I mean, you obviously have a problem with landlords, but
I
the
don't
fact
have a
that,
problem with landlords.
yeah.
No, because actually I know a very lot of good landlords that I give my props to, because they have, actually when something gets broken, they're there and they fix it. They don't wait and make the tenant wait a week, 2 weeks to fix a plumbing issue. I know a lot of great tenants in this town, landlords in this town, that actually fix it up. What I'm saying is when the people who do complain, that have the same landlords, and there are a bunch of landlords in this town that have been considered slumlords, that the city, the building inspectors already know them like that. Yes, I know that landlord, we're always having trouble with that landlord. So they know who it is. The city knows which are the landlords that are having trouble with. And those are the ones you need to go after, because it's actually making the good landlords look bad. Because I know a ton of good landlords.
Now it's comforting to hear there are some good landlords.
Now, I know some good landlords that actually lowered his rent, because the people he was about to rent to, it was $150 too much for them. And he lowered it, that $150, to rent to them. So yes, we have a ton. What I focused on was with the problems in here. The problems are, we don't have good communications with your building. The buildings do not speak correctly to the tenants, and when tenants call up, they have a problem with it. They do not come out to look at the problem. This is what you need, because New York City, period, New York City, okay, inspectors have to come out when you make a complaint. I know because my brother-in-law is one. He is a building inspector. And for the rules that you are following here in Kingston, don't even match up.
Interesting. Yeah. Okay. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Other questions? Anybody else? Thank you. All right, please,
You're welcome.
all right. Next, we have Richard Tyler, who is a community activist and member here in Kingston, she works with Citizen Action.
Hi, thank you very much. I'm a community activist, but I grew up in Kingston. My family has been here since 1930s. And I can say pretty much that my experience of Kingston is reflected through what I've heard from a lot of tenants with the Kingston Tenants Union, and just through my work at Citizen Action in door knocking and fighting for other issues in the campaigns. In fall of last year, I knocked at one door on Elmendorf Street, and the tenant there, she was actually in the process of being evicted. In fact, within the next week or so, she was going to move. And she was asking me if we knew of any two-bedroom apartments for $800 in the city of Kingston. There are no two-bedroom apartments for $800 in the city of Kingston. That was what her Section 8 voucher was for. She herself had looked everywhere and could not find a location. She was going to go to housing court to see if she could get an extension. When I followed up with her the next week, she had decided to move out and not even fight, because the structures in court, and especially in housing court, were really too much for her on her own. When referred to Legal Services of the Hudson Valley, one of the things was that she just, number one, did not have her paperwork together, and she had 5 children, and she at that time could not go through that process. So she went to housing court without legal representation, and that was something that I think really accelerated her decision to leave her housing, even ahead of being evicted. So I've spoken to numerous people who have decided to leave, before the, sheriff comes and puts them out. So another, person that I spoke with, is someone who's living on Buffalo Road. And she also has, 5 children, 3 are in high school and are, actually doing really well and is on honors. But, their housing situation is such that, she receives Section 8, but, the landlord has constantly changed the amount of rent that she pays. So her landlord says, will you pay the oil, will you pay the electricity, like constantly adding things that she has to make up from her own, income, which she works 2 jobs, one at a fast food restaurant, where she doesn't have a set schedule. Her income fluctuates. Yet when she goes to Section 8, when she goes to DSS, they calculate her income as if it is constant. Although, that's just not the case. You can't demand a certain set number of hours from your employer, especially when your employer will constantly rotate your shifts around. Another person, that I spoke with in the city of Kingston, they are, I say quasi-evicted. So they have complained about, the conditions that they're living, under with, an infestation of, insects and rodents. And their landlord has refused to make these repairs. In fact, literally, bringing up, they did owe some back rent and using that as kind of a lever so they wouldn't report, for repairs. So maybe about 2 or 3 months into the situation, the landlord himself calls the building inspector and had his own apartment condemned, forcing them to be evicted immediately. This was something that they had complained about numerous times, but again, the threat of being evicted had kept them silent and going to city channels. But I do find it strange that the landlord himself could ignore this, these infractions, and then utilize that